math learners. In this video, we will discuss about identifying quadratic function. Our objective is to identify quadratic functions. The function y is equal to x squared is shown in the graph. Okay, this is the graph. Okay, notice that the graph is not linear. This function is a quadratic function. Again, this function is a quadratic function. Okay, if the graph is U-shaped, it is a quadratic function. And the graph of the quadratic function is called parabola. Again, the graph of the quadratic function is called parabola. A quadratic function is any function that can be written in standard form y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a and b and c are real numbers, and a cannot be equal to 0. The function y is equal to x squared can be written as y is equal to 1x squared plus 0x plus 0, where a is equal to 1, b is equal to 0, and c is equal to 0. Okay, again, a quadratic function is a function that can be written in the form or standard form y is equal to ax squared bx plus c. So here, a cannot be equal to 0. It is because magiging 0 yung quadratic term ng function kapag 0 yung a. Okay, the most important term para makonsider ang isang function na quadratic is the quadratic term or yung term na nagko-contain ng x squared. Okay, this one. Okay, a quadratic function is composed of 3 terms. Okay, the one that contains x squared is the quadratic term. Okay, the term that contains x is the linear term, and the c, which is constant, okay, is called constant. Okay. Okay, hindi pwedeng maging 0 yung a kasi magiging 0 yung quadratic term at hindi na siya magiging quadratic function. Okay, but it is okay na maging 0 yung b at c. Kasi ang importante lang na para matawag siya na quadratic function is the quadratic term. Okay lang na ma-0 yung b at c. Okay, identifying quadratic function using table of values. Okay, notice that the quadratic function y is equal to x squared does not have a constant first difference. Okay, it has a constant second difference. Okay, this is true for all quadratic function. Okay, ito yung table ng quadratic function. Okay, table of values ng quadratic function. Okay, this is x and this is the function y is equal to x squared. Okay. Okay, dito, okay, constant yung value ng x. Okay, basta quadratic function talaga, constant yung difference ng value ng x. And dito sa y values, here, we have first differences and second differences. Okay, kapag quadratic function siya, yung second differences is constant. Again, kapag quadratic function siya, yung second differences ng y values is constant. Okay, this is true for all quadratic functions. Okay, kapag hindi constant yung second differences, it is not a quadratic function. Okay, we have an example here. Tell whether the function is quadratic and explain. Okay, ang gagawin natin dito is tingnan muna natin kung merong constant change in x values. Okay, merong constant change because the differences are 1. Then after checking if there is a constant differences in x values, okay, proceed to y values and okay, tingnan yung first at second differences niya. Okay, since you're given a table of ordered pairs with a constant change in x values, see if the second differences in y values are constant. Find the first differences, then find the second differences of y values. Okay? The first differences in y values are 7, 1, 1, and 7. Okay, it is okay na hindi siya constant. Ang importante yung second differences. Okay, the second differences are not constant. Okay, which are 6, 0, and 6. Okay, this means that this function rather is not quadratic. Okay, the function is not quadratic. It is because the second differences are not constant. Okay, kapag hindi constant yung second differences, hindi siya quadratic function. Okay? Be sure that there is a constant change in x values before you try to find the first or second differences. Okay, dito, kailangan mo munang tingnan kung merong constant change sa x values before proceeding in finding the first differences and second differences in y values. Okay, we have another example. Tell whether the function is quadratic and explain. So, dito hindi na given yung table of values but kaya function itself. So, dito, okay, let's try to identify kung quadratic function ba siya or hindi. Since you are given an equation, use y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, which is the standard form of quadratic equation. Okay, let us compare the standard form of quadratic function sa given function. Okay, as to what I have said a while ago, okay, para ma-consider ang isang function na quadratic siya, is that it should contain the quadratic term, which is the term that contains x squared. Okay, meron bang x squared dito sa given function? Okay, wala. Okay, this is not quadratic function because the value of a is 0. Okay, walang quadratic term. Okay, this one. Okay, tell whether the function is quadratic and explain. Okay, ang unang gagawin natin is, okay, we should rewrite the function in the form y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, which is the standard form of quadratic function. Okay, we can only do that by solving for y. Okay, we should add plus 10x squared both side of the equation. Okay, para matransfer natin yung negative 10x squared to the right side ng equation para y na lang yung matira sa left side. Okay, we can only do that by adding 10x squared both sides ng equation. So, negative 10x squared plus 10x squared, it is 0, so crash out. So, magiging y is equal to 10x squared plus 9. Or we can also apply the method of transposition in which kapag ita-transfer natin yung isang value to the other side of the equation, no, iti-change na natin yung value. For example, this one. If we will transfer negative 10 to the right side ng equation, no, let's just change the sign. So, from negative 10x squared, magiging 10x, positive 10x squared siya. So, y is equal to 10x squared plus 9. Okay. Okay, that's how the transposition works. Okay. Okay, let's try to compare the standard form of the quadratic function to the given function. Okay, as to what I have said a while ago, okay, for a function to be considered na quadratic siya, it should contain the quadratic term, okay, which is the term that contain the x squared. Okay, this one. Okay, meron bang quadratic term ang given function? Yes, meron. So, it is a quadratic function because it can be written in the form of y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is equal to 10, b is equal to 0, and c is equal to 9. Okay, in a quadratic function, only a cannot be equal to 0. It is okay for the values of b and c to be 0. Okay, let's go back to identifying quadratic function given the table of values. Okay, same pa rin yung process kagaya ng kanina. Okay, first make sure that there is a constant differences in x values. Okay, there is a constant differences. 1 yung differences niya. Then after checking if there is a constant differences in x values, okay, try to find the first differences and second differences in y values. Okay, list the ordered pairs in the table of values. Since there is a constant change in x values, see is if the differences are constant. Okay, find the differences, then find the second differences. Okay, find the first differences, then find the second differences. Okay, the first differences are negative 3, negative 1, plus 1, or positive 1, then positive 3. Okay, this is the first differences. Then the second differences are constant 2. Okay, as to what I have said a while ago, if the second differences in y values are constant, then it is a quadratic function. Okay, the function is quadratic because the second differences are constant. Okay, tell whether the function is a quadratic, then explain. So ngayon, hindi na naman table of values yung given, but the function itself. Okay, the first step natin gagawin is try to rewrite the function in the form of y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, which is the standard form of quadratic function. Okay, we can only do that by solving for y. Okay, to solve for y, we should subtract x both sides ng equation. Okay, it is the application of the addition or subtraction property of equality. Na kung mag-add ka or magsasubtract ka ng isang value sa left side, magsasubtract ka rin sa right side kasi this is an equation. So, I subtract negative x sa left, I also subtract negative x sa right. So, positive x minus x, that is 0, then crash out. Then, as is na yung 2x squared minus 6. Minus x rather. Okay, ito na yun. So, y is equal to 2x squared minus x. Or, in this one, we can apply the method of transposition wherein kapag itatransfer natin yung isang value to the other side ng equation, we just need to change the sign. Okay, for example, okay, we want to transfer x to the right side. Okay. Ta-transfer lang natin, then change the sign. So, transfer x to the right side. From positive, it will become negative. So, it will become y is equal to 2x squared minus x. So, is it a quadratic function or not? Okay, let's try to compare it to the standard form of quadratic function, which is y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. As to what I've said a while ago, the most important term para ma-consider na quadratic function na isang function is the quadratic term or the term that contains the x squared. Okay, meron bang term na nagko-contain ng x squared dito sa given function? Okay, yes. Therefore, it is a function, a quadratic function. Okay, this is a quadratic function because it can be written in the form y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is equal to 2, b is equal to negative 1, and c is equal to 0.